Holla ballers, what's going on? It's Preacher and Windwalker Monk, our final Monk spec to be checking before Warlords of Draenor. I'm sure many of you are interested in the only DPS spec the Monk carries, and of course the fears about the slowdown that the melee in general got over Warlords of Draenor. The casters got hit by movement, and the melee got a kind of slowdown effect added to it. A lot of people pissed because the Windwalker in MOP is such a flurry of activity, such an absolute godsend for those of us who really like to spin plates but not overly so, and also get great results out of it when you pull it off. Windwalker always been a weird one. Even Blizzard said that they were very, very afraid that the Windwalker was capable of too much damage. Yet they were okay with it because they didn't think people would be able to pull it off. And rightfully so. Occasionally in Mists of Pandaria we saw Windwalkers do incredible things. But because we have so many plates to spin, so many things to manage, so many timings that need to happen, that every sort of 10 seconds, there's about 7 or 8 things that can go slightly wrong. And that's okay, because that kind of balances it out over the course of things without taking away from the actual interactivity of the Monk. So that's why that works out quite well. So we had this slowdown effect. Basically, we had things adjusted, but they have tweaked that since our first look. I gave this kind of not a negative, but not exactly super positive review when we looked at it very early beta. There have been some adjustments since then, some changes to the costs of things like jab and all that kind of shit. And what we're left with is something that I've actually really enjoyed. The Monk is back, in my opinion. The Windwalker is back, I should say. Windwalker is really fucking fun. Because what we have is these moments of pure glory. And it's hard to say that that's a bad thing, because it obviously isn't. If we're not having those moments of pure glory, we're right in the middle, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, and it's something I try to drill home for many of the newcomers to the channel. Many of the old-timers will be like, I understand what you're saying here. Middle of the pack is a great place to be, because ultimately we're not competing with our mage brothers and our warlock brothers and our other brothers. We're competing with the rest of the Windwalkers in the world. What we don't want to be is a carry. We don't want to be bottom of the pack to the point where it's, you know, I'd rather bring someone else because the Windwalker's not performing. Windwalker right smack in the middle, with occasional moments of absolutely fantastic play. And that's all good. And the gameplay is what matters. The gameplay is absolutely what matters. What's really good right now is I can't see much happening in the way of tuning in the rest of the beta, and in fact on the PTR as well, because nearly all the talents, nearly all combinations of talents that you go with yield very minor DPS differences. Now drink that in, because that's something you should be really excited about. Because Cookie Cutter sucks. There will always be one that's slightly better, but when I say slightly, I mean slightly. I mean it edges ever so fucking slightly in near perfect single target conditions. Now, Simcraft can always, in my opinion, kind of suck a dick. Because as much as, yes, it's brilliant to stand in front of a block of fucking health cheddar and smash away at it, that is not how raids work. Particularly in Warlords of Draenor. No, they don't. There are very few single target bosses. Very few. What we do have is lots of 2 bosses, lots of ad spawns. All this kind of stuff is going on in Warlords of Draenor raids for pretty much every single fight, which means things that are glorious to the Windwalker, like Storm, Earth, and Fire, really start to shine. And this is where you're going to go, okay, yeah, Simcraft says we're really middle of the road, but you know what? My fights don't play out like that. My fights don't play out like that at all. In fact, in real world scenarios, I can do this, and this that you can't really factor in to just a straight up single target health dummy. No, you cannot. What we have is ads split out. We have various fucking things jumping around the place. All that kind of stuff is going on. And a really good Windwalker who has really configured his setup to be able to manage everything. You see, I've done some tweaks here with Storm, Earth, and Fire, all that kind of stuff, and mix it in. I'm not quite happy with it yet, but I'm getting there. And what you'll be able to do is manage this really effectively to the point where you'll be able to get more and more of these moments of glory I was talking about. The slowdown is there. Okay, so there's a huge shift and more of an emphasis than there was in Mists of Pandaria towards making sure your Rising Sun kick and your Fist of Fury is used on cooldown. There's such a shift to making sure you do that. That you have really powerful abilities like Chi Explosion, especially in an AoE scenario where using 4 charge Chi Explosion hits and will be the most damaging spell you do. But It's timed really well by Blizz to make sure that it doesn't override Rising Sun Kick, it doesn't override Fists of Fury, and because of that, you actually use the spell much less. But they've tuned it in a way that when you do get to use it, if you time it right, if you plan it right, if you get it into the right spot, damn, it's good, and it all works and flows together. And this is what we're always aiming for in our classes, is flow. It should flow. It should make sense. If there is a spell that we can use very rarely, I want it to be effective. I don't want it to be something that I use rarely, but it doesn't matter anyway. That's not that cool. What I want is a very cool spell. I have to set it up right, and boom, when I drop the fucking hammer, that is all good. That is all good. And the other level 100 talents, Hurricane Strike, I'm not convinced on. I'm really not convinced on Hurricane Strike. I've used it in a couple of scenarios and just ended up dropping it because it's a little bit gimmicky, a little bit sad, and I don't particularly enjoy it, which is never something I like in a level 100 talent. And Serenity is what Serenity is. Really on-demand burst. And when we need it, when encounters... And remember, this is the important thing. When encounters demand of us a really insane burst period of time, we need to get this job done. Serenity is there and waiting for you. But your go-to when you're clearing trash or doing stuff with AoE, which is your rushing Jade Wind, your Chi Explosion, that setup works really well. And when it comes to managing Chi, it's really nice to see that things like you can choose between Ascension, Power Strikes, and Chi Brew. Some people don't like Chi Brew. Some people don't like Power Strikes and a little randomness and having to factor that in. People like the consistency of Ascension, and with the slowdown, having that extra 15% mana regen can count towards smoothing out that gameplay the way more of you like. Going back towards a Mists of Pandaria model, which is a little bit of faster energy, a little bit more ability to get those jabs in, and maybe a little bit of flexibility in storing Chi, because you get the extra Chi from there. So my personal favourite is genuinely Ascension, but Chi Brew worked out so much better in Mists of Pandaria, you couldn't really use it. Now the tuning seems to say it's pretty close. It's pretty damn close. Using whichever one you prefer is going to yield best results because it comes down to how you manage your spells and your character more than what talents you're picking. And thank God, so fucking good. I'm really happy with it. The little tweaks to the costs of spells, the timings of them has worked out really well in the Windwalker's favour, and I think it's in a solid position to be one of the best melee classes you can play in Warlords of Draenor, not only because of how the actual gameplay single target works, but more because in our raid environment, in our 5-mans, in our heroics, in our challenge modes, the Windwalker has so many options with how it tackles things that you'll be learning constantly. You'll be picking up tricks all the time, and that's going to work out with being a really good player. Not only that, you can stun, you can AoE, you can interrupt, you can do all this kind of stuff, you can CC, you can add so much utility on top of being able to decide when you want to crush and when you want to go straight off methodical. And that is really glorious. Well played. Really well played by Blizz. I'm really happy with the results of Windwalker. Being middle of the road is fine, with little moments of glory. What we don't want is middle of the road with moments of absolute dire failure. That's not where we want to be. All right, guys, your Windwalker monk looking fucking sparkling. Sparkling. Bye-bye.